Okie dokie. Brake job. 99 Honda. 19 millimeter. Crack your lug nuts loose before you jack it up, otherwise the wheel will spin. Yeah. You can put a jack stand under the car if you want, if you're concerned. Highly recommend it.
You can't triple stamp or double stamp.
Flopping under there. I like to turn the wheel. Boop. Caliper. Okay, crack those loose. Look like a 14. 14. Oh, stand by. Okay. Lefty loosey. Those are cracked loose. Now you can push the piston back in before you take it apart by prying on the pad. Which will make reinstall easier. There's a few different ways to do this. Once this is off, piston. Some people say don't let this hang because it can hurt the brake line. But if the brake line fails with the weight of this, it needs new brake lines. Push the piston back. Like so. Set that off to the side there. Pads still have meat. We put really good pads on here last time, but the rotors are warped. Not really recommend putting new rotors on old pads. A lot of times they'll squeal and make noises. It's a cheap job if you're doing it yourself. Certainly worth, just replace everything. Yes, you can have rotors turned. These days, most shops are charging the same to turn them than they are to. Then it costs just to replace them. And we got 17 millimeter. So this right here, 17, and there's one at the bottom as well, 17. That moves the bracket so you can get the rotor off. So these are on fairly tight. You can do this little trick with your wrench to loosen. It's helpful if you make grunting noises while you do this. All right. Grab. This. Caliper bolt 1, caliper bolt 2. So really, once the wheel's off, there's only 4 bolts. Okay, that's all out of the way. This is on with a Phillips head. And this is gonna get aggravating because when I put these on, might have stripped them a little. Really, this bolt, I was told, is only there for the assembly line of the vehicle. The wheel holds the rotor on, but you still got to get that out. I'm going to pause while I get this off and be right back. Alright. Whenever you get new rotors, the parts stores usually do fantastic at selling you the right stuff. But I like to stay and compare. Same lug pattern, same size of rotor, good to go. If you buy regular rotor, I think they call them premium as opposed to the ultra premium. They come with a glaze on them, like an oil. That oil's to keep them from rusting when they're in their box. Brake cleaner, take it, put it over your friend's garden, give her hell. Get all that oil off. Flip it around, get the backside. Otherwise that oil will work its way into the pads and never be 100%. Could get a squeal. May not have the same braking power. Blah, blah. So we've got our old box, old rotor, new rotor. New rotor will go on. You're gonna line up your screw holes with the old screw holes. Oh yeah, there's 2. No burrs. I like to check the rotor sometimes in the machining process. They're not perfect, but usually like a pizza. You're on. Grab the screws that you lost in the dirt. Put it in the hole. Start them by hand. I might have zigged when I should have zagged. Line up your holes. Hold your rotor tight. Thread in your little screw. Actually, knock down that little burr. It's fine. Alright, hold that in. Tighten, tighten, tighten. This is going to be tight. I don't have to be uber tight. Not as tight as they'll be when you first take them off if it's been a few years. Snug. Snug. Okay. Rotor's on. That means our bracket can go on, but before the bracket, we've got to put our clips on. Brake pad slides. Clips. These guys that I took off. There's one in there and there's one in there. There's just help the rotors. They're the pads slide on the caliper bracket. So when you press the brake, they have their room to retract to your regular rolling resistance of the caliper. These are called silent guards. They replace safety stops from Never Any Parts Available, or Napa is what they call it. Take your pads out. Safety stops are fine. Ultra premiums are better. Factory's great. ADOs are the best. That's what we had on here. These have been on here for 6 years, and they're maybe 40% worn, 30. Great pads, like I said, to put new rotors on with these pads, unless you're really in a pinch. Don't get me wrong, like they can be reused. But I'm doing this for my cousin, and This car, his wife drives. Good to have great brakes on it. Another 70 bucks for pads. We're just gonna do it. These are your wear indicators. Some people will argue you want them on the bottom of the stroke. Some people say you want them on the beginning of the stroke, meaning when the rotor turns, the first point of contact should be your wear indicator. So in that case, it'd be the upper one. That's what I was taught. Growing up, I was taught to put it at the bottom. I don't think there's a reason it can't be at the top or the bottom. Anywho, so brackets, or sorry, clips, pad slides, whatever you want to call them. Make sure they're mostly similar. Clippy clips. One clip, two clip. A lot of times if you don't put these on right, you'll put it all back together and you'll get a grind. You'll think, oh shit, what do we do wrong? Well, it's these stupid little tabs. They'll touch the rotor and they'll make a noise. So these are all symmetrical. These are also symmetrical. One on each side, two on the other ones. Two of these, one of those. So the proper way to do this, you can rub emery cloth in here and you can put brake caliper grease in here. Helps everything slide. We don't have any, and it's gonna be okay. Most shops won't do this. Push this in, push that bracket in, push that clip in real good. Make sure this piece is turned in, make sure it's centered. Boom, boom, boom. Other one. I understand people can nitpick things. I did it for a living. Most shops use caliper grease, some don't. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is gonna be fine because we have new pads. We got these come glazed, painted, whatever you want to call it. They're gonna slide fine. If they go in tight, we're gonna take a file and knock down burrs. That way, because we're skipping a step of caliper grease today. My shop's 1,200 miles away. I don't have anything with me. So, the clips are on. This is on. We go back to the two caliper bolts that are in the dirt. Start the bottom one first. Why? Doesn't matter. Start the top one first if you want. Get those on. Tighten them up. Grab your 17. Righty tighty. Grab this. These go on pretty tight. Make those grunt noises. Show the world you're really trying and you're really getting older. Tight, tight. Okay, so 2 out of 4 bolts done. What do you guys want me to do? Put it at the bottom or the top? I'm putting it at the bottom. That's the way everyone taught me growing up. Indicator, bottom. Bottom of the inside. And this is where frustration can happen. If it doesn't fit in super well, we may have to do some filing. It went in well. I just had to wiggle, get the angle right. The 2 other pads should be symmetrical. ADO pads will have an inner and an outer. The inner pad is harder than the outer. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Red and blue, inner, outer. Let's look. The old ones. Outer is blue, yeah, so outer is softer, inner's red, inner's harder. Inner hits the initial contact. Take these guys, don't put them backwards. I've seen it happen. They'll fit backwards. Pad, that's your pad. That's your bracket. Bracket, whatever you want to call it. Everything's tight, everything's good. Inner pad, indicator at the bottom, outer pad. We already pushed our piston back in, so we should fit right over like so. If you don't push it back in, it's not gonna fit. Take your caliper bolt, I like to start at the bottom. You can start at the top. Do whatever you want. Get your 14. These can be tight, but not extremely tight. Not as tight as the caliper bolts. At all. Tight. 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 It's on. It moves. Nothing's locked up. That's it. Put your wheel on. Get your lug nuts on. Put it on the ground. Torque them to 90 pounds on a Honda. Basically it. Go get them. Do the same to the other side. Don't only do half the car. Done deal.